Hello world, welcome to the 234th climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I'm at the south end of town in Gettysburg, and the battlefield is that way, and this is called Stevens Run, also known as the Tiber, and the water comes whooshing through here in a deluge from about a mile north of or south of here on the battlefield, and comes down this stream and underneath this bridge, which is good storm management. But by the time it gets into town, as you can see, it crosses underneath the town, underneath the road here, 116, a major road, and it goes into town. And they're not ready for the deluges that are going to come. And this is what I'm going to talk about. According to the world, this is the 234th, climate change emergency protest. This is May 19, 2023. Next week will be number 235. That'll be on May 26, 2023. Now, the World Meteorological Association came out with a report, and keep in mind, this is the lowest common denominator, so everyone has to agree to it for this report to come out. So whoever has the most conservative or least aggressive thought process is the one that wins out in these predictions. So these predictions are the base level, so chances are it's going to be much worse than this. It's always faster than expected or much worse than expected. So the World Meteorological Association came out with this report. Basically, it's based on the El Nino, but also how the temperatures are going up, and carbon dioxide level is not decreasing; it's increasing around the world. And but what's coming up is an El Nino, which is the venting off of the ocean's heat, as opposed to La Nina, which is sequestering of the ocean's heat. Even though we've had the warmest 8 years on record have been during the last three El Ninos. The last 3 years, which have been La Nina. And so things are getting progressively warmer and warmer, even though they should not have during the La Nina period. So the El Nino that's coming, it's going to vent off a massive amount of heat, and they think it might be a super El Nino because the oceans have been storing a super amount of heat. So this organization, the World Meteorological Association, says that the next 5 years, the mean temperature will be hotter than ever. That's what's coming these 5 years, 2023 to 2027. At least one of those years before 2027 will exceed the 1.5 limit, which was the agreed to amount to keep temperatures below that limit. The Paris COP21 back in 2015 agreed to by 196 countries. They agreed to try to keep temperatures below 1.5 degrees Celsius increase since 1880 baseline. Or if you use the year 1750 baseline, that would be a 2-degree Celsius increase. So they're cooking the books either way. But, let's just say it's the 1.5 baseline. The WMO is predicting that we're going to go past that amount. And it's significant because if you looked at my TikTok chart from a few weeks ago, Table of Catastrophe, the International Table of Catastrophe TikTok, the catastrophic levels for each tenth of a degree or just go up. They double, basically. And if we go up from 1.15, 1.2 up to 1.5, we're going to see massive catastrophes around the whole world. And that's what's coming in the next 5 years here. So right now, carbon dioxide is, 424 parts per million. And you want to get down below 280 parts per million, and it hasn't been that way since the year 1750. There's an organization called 350.org. They say 350 is a safe zone. It is not. It's not even close to being safe. That with 350, last time it was at 350 parts per million as opposed to the 424 now. When it was 350 parts per million, that was in 1986. Okay, that's not 1886. It's 1986. Things are spinning out of control as of that date. We just didn't see it happening because it was at such a slow rate. But 350 is not a safe zone at all, not even close to it. When I was born, for example, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was 317 parts per million. And now we're at 424. So the WMO, as I said, is predicting the next 5 years to be the hottest on record. That is the mean average as to what's going to happen. So you're going to have some that's going to be very, very warm years. And it's like, I'll just turn my air conditioner on. Well, the grid is predicted to collapse in the United States. I read an article that says almost 2/3 of the United States is in danger of having a collapsed grid, electrical grid. So if the temperature is hot and the grid collapses and you have heat waves, many people are in deep trouble, and we're talking thousands of people. So they're saying that the next 5 years being the hottest on record, the mean average, we're going into uncharted territory. It's a bleak prediction as to what's happening. So as I said, it's the lowest common denominator of the agreed to amount. So countries and cities are totally unprepared as to what's going to happen. This city especially is an example of that. Italy, for example, had 19 inches of rain in 36 hours. They had half a year's of precipitation in the Bologna region a couple days ago. 19 inches of rain in 36 hours. If they got this here, I would probably be underwater by about 5 feet. Standing even above the creek bed, I'd probably be under by 5 feet. That will just destroy part of this town, cause much damage and loss of life. And it's a flash flood when it happens. I mean, if it comes all the way from south of here and then comes down. And it did that one year in 1994, I think it was. It came up to my house, and that was 10 inches in 6 hours. So it's more than capable of doing that. It's not a problem with the environment doing that due to a heating environment and having more water vapor in the atmosphere. So they're predicting that it's a societal, economic, and environmental breakdown that's possible. It's coming. If you have a heat event, people, animals, crops, fish, plants, you name it, are in jeopardy at that point. You have to worry about the electrical grid collapsing, as I said. Deluges, hurricanes. This is what's coming next 5 years. Okay, if these temperatures go this high, this is what's probably going to happen. Deluges of rain, hurricanes, tornadoes, displacing thousands of people, not just 20 people or 50 people. Thousands of people could be displaced, as well as agriculture being underwater, which destroys crops. You could end up with droughts and droughts and flash floods, displacing thousands as well. Agriculture again is in danger for that. Water issues, you get in a flood, it's like, oh wow, we got water. No, it's either too much water or too little water in a drought, and also it's contaminated water, so you just can't drink that kind of water. Migrations into millions of people if it's that hot. Central America, they're worried about the border crossing here in the United States as to people coming up and everything like that. And the reason why they're leaving Central America is because the climate change is affecting everything down there. It's becoming untenable, which leads to political unrest and things like that. So people are looking for a better life, and we're choking them off at our nation's border. And it's crazy because we do have enough land here to support people. India, for example, is 1/3 of our land area, and they have 3 times the population. So it is possible to help people out and let them in. In our country, the lifeblood for years, decades, centuries has been immigration, and we're not allowing immigrants into our country by and large. And they're the people that the immigrants are the ones that are the new blood to our society, and people fail to recognize that. A society becomes tired when it becomes stagnant, and it becomes vibrant when you allow migration into your country and have new blood coming in, new thought processes, new cultures, and things like that. But we're really a backwards country anymore, and it's becoming very scary as to what's going on around the world as well. So you have migrations into millions with these heat waves. You also end up with fires displacing thousands of people. This area is vulnerable to fire. It's just the way it is. If you end up with a mass drought, you could easily have fire spreading throughout the whole area. Also with the heat, you sea level rise due to melting ice caps. The third pole, the Himalayas, for example, which also, they call it the Himalayas, but also the Alps, the Andes in South America, the Rockies, and the southern Alps in New Zealand, for example. You could have massive amounts of snow and ice melt, glacier melt. 1.5 billion people depend on water, drinking and irrigation from the Himalayas as well. 1.5 billion. So if that's an issue, once deluges come and the ice starts melting and there's little ice left, people can't irrigate their farms and don't have water to drink. It's the way it is. You have massive sea death with heating, such as fish death, coral reefs, and plant die-offs. Ocean currents may slow down with a massive heating, because then everything's thrown off as far as melting ice into the oceans, which slows things down, and it's not the same rate as what the constant flow, ebb and flow, and the even balance was. So you have the AMOC possible collapse. You have around the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico is definitely slowing down. The Gulf Stream. You run the risk of plate tectonic shifts, which would be earthquakes initially, and volcanoes erupting due to ice. Okay, the ice weight, and this is my theory. I don't know if it's, but ice weight. It makes sense that if the glacier weight moves from Greenland and Antarctica into the ocean, you have a weight shift going on, and that's going to cause plate tectonic shift, which before that you have earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. We'll see how that works out. You have airflow, jet stream slowing down due to the center of heating switching from, or center of cold switching from the North Pole over to Greenland. It's a 17-degree shift, so you're going to have massive jet stream changes and also slowing down. The wind used to blow here a lot all the time, and now it doesn't. So that's when you have the melting of the ice, you have due to a blue ocean event. How you doing? Having a good run? See ya. Due to a blue ocean event. Center of the cold, and as I said, shifts to Greenland. It's a 17-degree shift. Also during periods of heating and things like that happening, and migrations and people living and unsure about their environment where they live, you end up with women's issues. And family breakdown. The husbands often leave to get jobs somewhere else or try to get resources for the family unit and send money back or whatever. And if you have a societal breakdown, the women are in deep trouble. Husbands leave for jobs, looking for water, as I said, or even suicide. They can't pay their bills. Farmers are having a great increase in suicides because they can't pay their bills and people don't see any way out. And if you have societal breakdowns, then you end up with roving gangs, and it goes along with that. You can extrapolate from that. With massive heating, you have massive extinctions, even worse than the 10. Right now, our extinction rate is 10,000 times the normal background rate. So you expect a certain amount of extinctions going on per year or per decade of different species. And right now we're going at 10,000 times the normal background rate, which is faster than any of the previous 5 extinctions. So if you get what's happening that way, we're going faster than the previous 5 extinctions. So if that's happening, you get massive heating, you're going to get even a faster rate of breakdown for that. Right now, let's see, so faster, no time to adjust. If you have extinction rate happening at a fast rate, then the species have no time to adjust. It used to be if extinction was happening, they could slowly move over 10,000 years to different environments, farther in whichever direction they need to. Right now, the species need to move towards the poles, which is cooler. Same with animal species or fish species or plant species. There's no time to do that. Our rate of heating is going at such a fast rate, there isn't enough time for the species to adjust to the new environment that's occurring. So 2026, are we going to 2026, 2027? Are we going to have trouble surviving as a human race? I don't know. We've never been here before. I imagine it won't be pleasant, and I would think that towns aren't ready to adapt to the situation. There's no cooling stations, no safe place to go in times of flood, immediate things. There's no food banks set up around this country. They say the government will be there for you. The government will not be there for you. It's an example out there where the tornadoes are happening in the South. Basically, the government's not there. Christian organizations or charity organizations have to be the ones that step in to help. And that's not good enough. In a time of massive crisis, the governments will not be there. And in fact, you could end up with government collapse and also martial law, and that solves nothing other than lock people down. So this is the hard truth. It's not easy to hear. Adaptation right now is the rule now, not mitigation. Mitigation is trying to prevent it from happening. Now we're in a situation, it's too late. Everyone waited too long. It's an uninformed public. And now we're into an adaptation situation, whereas like if there's a flood here, for example, then you have to adapt to the situation and move or do whatever you need to do to get by after that occurs. And that's not the way to have a society, a thriving society. Mitigation was the answer, and we've waited too long. And unless something dramatic happens and the whole country gets on board, it's going to be pretty bad as far as that goes. So mitigation is not on the table right now. So basically, you have an uninformed public as to what's happening with climate change, and a lot of it is the responsibility of governments and the media not conveying the truth, which is huge. I mean, you don't see Joe Biden or any party, either party, talking about climate change and what's coming and things like this. Talks like this. This should be basic knowledge as to what's happening. So you have an uninformed public, you have an obtuse, uninformed politicians. The politicians either don't want to know or absolutely have no clue. Politicians often say, "Oh, we need clean air." This is so far beyond the idea of clean air. It's to say that is just absolutely ridiculous, and that means you're totally uninformed as to what's happening. But not only you have uninformed politicians, some at the higher levels are total psychopaths. Authorizing drilling and drill baby drill in this type of environment, what's happening, what's coming over the next 5 years is absolutely insane. So, if you have these psychopathic politicians and no one's stopping them, it's going to end up very, 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 very bad. Did I say very bad? So there's also the media. They don't have any true knowledgeable people on board coming to do broadcasts and talk as to what's happening and give the honest to God truth on the media. Like they'll show a hurricane or show a tornado or whatever and show flooding, and they won't tell you why it's happening. In fact, they'll kind of downplay and go, "This is what's normal. This is what happens in springtime." I've seen that on ABC. One of the meteorologists, female meteorologists, "Oh, this is normal. This is a part of spring." No, things are spinning out of control, and the things that are happening are to the extreme events. When you have new records, 1,000 years never heard before, new record on this is not normal. Okay, so that's about all I say about that now. I hopefully this was informative to you, and I don't mean to scare you, but you need to be prepared as to what's coming. Start getting foodstuffs that you can store for 2 or 3 years. Be prepared and have an air conditioner if you can afford it. Look around your environment where your house is or where you're living and see what could happen as far as fires or floods and things like that, and see how you can adapt. So I'll catch you next week. That'll be May 26th, and that'll be Climate Change Talk number 235, Climate Change Protest. See you later. Bye.